Which college football team is going to be an absolute problem this season?
I think I've been beating the Minnesota drum, right? Like I've been loud about that one. I'm not so certain about it now because I thought Nebraska was going to be pretty good. I still think Texas is going to be pretty good. We'll see how those end up by December. But I think Minnesota really does have an opportunity to be outstanding this year. They got Tanner Morgan back for what seems like a 15th year, but he's been around the program for a very long time. He's getting to where he looks closer to looking exactly like PJ Fleck. And that's not necessarily a bad thing when you got that sort of relationship. They're very tight together. You got Mo Ibrahim coming back off of his injury last year. He had 30 carries for 163 yards against Ohio State in a game that I think they could have won if he didn't get injured in it. And you got Kurt Soraka returning to that program. The last time that he was the offensive coordinator with those guys, they won 11 games. And they had an outstanding season in 2019. The schedule doesn't have Ohio State or Michigan on it for them. They only have one ranked opponent outside of their division in Michigan State. I think that they could sniff 10 wins, 11 wins, and maybe even get into the Big Ten championship game later this year. But again, that's me looking at what they have accomplished, what they do return, and what the schedule looks like. What about you, Tyler?
Well, I like your point about Minnesota. It'd be great to see a team out of the Big Ten West really do some damage and push Ohio State in a Big Ten championship if they were able to get it that far. A sleeper team for me, I don't know if it's necessarily a sleeper. They're a pretty popular pick to make the playoff now, but I'm really just rooting for Utah. I love Kyle Whittingham and his program, and I just want to see someone from the Pac-12. Like, talk about someone who's been disrespected as of late. Pretty much the entire Pac-12 ever since USC and UCLA announced that they're going to move to the Big Ten. The Pac-12 is kind of looking at each other like, what are we going to do? And I mean, you mentioned this in the Pac-12 preview. Like, when is the Pac-12 going to prove itself as a Power 5 and more than just its name? If Utah were to make the playoff, which I think they can, that would certainly go a long way in doing that.
I think that's also an outstanding pick. I've also been on that Utah hype train, but again, they got similar characteristics to Minnesota. You return your starting quarterback. You return your outstanding tailback in Tavion Thomas. You got a bunch of that defense coming back that more or less was running with Ohio State, as high scoring as that game was, and also doubled up Oregon twice in 13 days. Same Oregon that went and got a win against Ohio State in the shoe and started out the season last year 9-1. I want to see Utah absolutely demolish the Pac-12 if that's what it takes, because I think that is what it's going to take to get them into the playoff. We're talking about a conference that has not had an entry into the college football playoff since 2016, when Jake Browning was the quarterback for the Washington Huskies, and Chris Peterson, who's working the desk now, was the head coach at Washington. I would really like for the Pac-12 to be able to stick it to a lot of people this year as they're being poached. Obviously, USC, UCLA joining the Big Ten, and show us all, no, we are one of the Power 5 conferences in this sport.
How much stock do you put into bowl game results and how much that carries over the next season? Because sometimes I think it's overrated, but Utah's got a bad taste in their mouth after that Rose Bowl and watching that slip through their fingers. I really think that's going to sort of carry over into this season in their preparation. I think they're going to come out with a statement, or at least prepared to make a statement this season with their play. Am I reading too much into that? What do you think?
I think in the case of Utah, you're not reading too much into it, but I also would point this out. They're the winningest program in the Pac-12 since 2015. They're like 59-7. Like, it's obscene. They also ran the table undefeated in 2008, beat Alabama, and didn't get any recognition as a national champ. They also have had the same head coach since 2004. Previous head coach, Urban Meyer, also on a desk. They have been good for a long time. They're just not very good about yelling that they've been good for a long time. To the point about whether or not bowl results matter, I think it depends on the bowl, right? If we're talking about a New Year's Six bowl, the Rose Bowl, yes, I think it matters. If we're talking about a lesser bowl, I don't want to actually say a lesser bowl, but a lesser bowl that's not a New Year's Six bowl, I think, yeah, it doesn't matter so much. And also it's about the opponent, right? They know that they played against an Ohio State team that, had they not lost to Michigan, plays in the college football playoff and probably gives those teams a run for their money. If that is what you could take away from a game in which basically Kyle Whittingham has a decision to make about winning the game or trying to go win the game, then you're right there on the edge. And I think you can ride that all the way into, no, we know we're this good. We know that all we got to do is get back to week 12, week 13 to get to game 15 and play for a national championship. So I think for them, It's just, hey, we're that good, and we get to know that we're that good going into 2022. I think it's a good outcome for Utah in a way that say maybe we are overstating the importance of Oklahoma State beating up on Notre Dame, if that's where you're going with this.
It wasn't where I was going with it, but I appreciate it.
All right.
Big year for the Utes.
Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.